Who is the one person you admire so much it almost hurts? A leader, an artist, a friend whose courage leaves you in awe. You look at them and a voice inside you whispers, "I could never be that." What if that voice is lying? What if that intense admiration isn't really about them at all? What if it is your own soul showing you a mirror of the brilliant, powerful person you were born to be? We have been taught that the shadow holds our darkness, our anger, our fear, our shame. But Carl Jung discovered a more profound, more hopeful truth. He realized that we do not only exile the parts of ourselves we deem bad, we also exile our magnificence. We lock away the very gold that is our birthright. Why? Because we were taught that our brilliance was too much. Our power was arrogant. Our light was selfish. And so we buried it deep in the shadow, and we began to see it everywhere, except in ourselves. This is the great, beautiful secret of the golden shadow. The qualities you admire most in others are a direct reflection of the untapped potential waiting within you. Today, the shadow work continues, but we are not digging for wounds. We are beginning a treasure hunt, and I will give you the map.
Let's return to that person you admire, the one whose light seems so bright. When you look at them, you feel a complex mix of emotions. Awe, certainly. Inspiration, perhaps. But if you are honest with yourself, there is often a quiet, painful ache underneath it all. A feeling of less than. A feeling of separation, as if they possess a magic that you were simply not given. Today, we are going to dismantle that illusion. Because that feeling is not a measure of your lack. It is a signal of recognition. It is the echo of a part of yourself you have forgotten. In our last conversation, we spoke of the invisible bag you carry, the shadow, the container for everything you were taught was unacceptable. But here is the most important secret of all shadow work. We do not only exile our darkness, we exile our light. This is what Carl Jung called the golden shadow. It is the collection of your most brilliant, positive, and powerful potentials that you were also taught were unacceptable. It is your disowned magnificence, the parts of you that were too bright, too loud, too powerful, too much for the world you grew up in. And so, with the same heartbreaking necessity with which you packed away your anger, you also packed away your gold. Why? Why would we hide the best parts of ourselves? Because a child's primary objective is not to be authentic, it is to belong. And anything that threatens that belonging must be put away. Let's imagine Chloe as a little girl, maybe 7 years old. She's a natural leader. On the playground, she organizes the other children. She invents complex games with rules. She delegates tasks. She has a vision. She's not trying to be a tyrant. She is simply expressing a natural, brilliant capacity for leadership. One day, she is organizing a game and a teacher walks over. And, with a well-meaning smile, the teacher says to another adult, loud enough for Chloe to hear, "She's a little bossy, isn't she?" In that single moment, a psychic event occurs. The scientist child logs the data. My leadership is called bossy. Bossy is not a good thing to be. To be a good girl, to be liked, I must not be bossy. And so, with a quiet internal sadness, she takes her brilliant natural leadership skills and she puts them in the bag. She exiles her own inner queen. Let's imagine her again, now as a young woman in her first job. She's in a meeting and she has an idea, a sharp, insightful, brilliant idea that could solve the problem everyone is discussing. She speaks up and lays out her logic clearly. And for a moment, the room goes quiet. She can feel the shift in the atmosphere. Perhaps she sees a flicker of insecurity in her older male boss. Perhaps she feels the subtle resentment from a colleague. She has, without intending to, made others feel less than. She has sucked the air out of the room with her competence. The data is logged. My brilliance is threatening. It creates distance. It makes others uncomfortable. To belong, to be a team player, I must dim my own light. And so she learns to play a little smaller in the next meeting. She takes her sharp, strategic mind and she puts it in the bag. Let's imagine her one last time as a creative teenager. She loves to write poetry. It is the language of her soul. She pours her heart onto the page. She shyly shows a poem to her father. Her father is a practical man. He loves her dearly and wants her to be safe and successful. He reads the poem and he says, "Honey, this is beautiful. You have a real talent, but it's a nice hobby. It's not going to pay the bills. You need to focus on your real studies." The data is logged. My passion is unrealistic. My soul's expression is a hobby, not a life. To be a responsible, successful adult, I must be practical. And so she takes her creative fire, the part of her that speaks in metaphor and beauty, and she puts it in the bag. And so you walk through the world carrying this bag not just filled with monsters, but with masterpieces. Not just filled with shame, but with sovereignty. And you feel a profound sense of less than. You look at the confident leader, the brilliant strategist, the free-spirited artist, and you feel that painful longing. But now you can understand. It is not the longing for something you do not have. It is the grief for a part of yourself you were forced to abandon. You are not admiring a stranger. You are recognizing a reflection of your own exiled gold. But your soul never gives up. It wants to be whole. And so it is constantly leaving you a trail of breadcrumbs, a treasure map back to your own buried gold. And the clues to this map are hidden in the very emotions you feel every day. In your admiration, in your inspiration, and yes, even in your envy. These feelings are not a sign of your lack. They are the compass. And now it is time to learn how to read it.
So, how do we begin to read this treasure map? How do we find the gold we have buried? Just like the dark shadow, the golden shadow does not speak in clear language. It speaks through projection. But instead of projecting our irritation and judgment, we project our awe and our longing. Your soul uses the people of the world as a mirror to show you the forgotten magnificence of your own face. There are 3 primary clues on this map, 3 powerful signals that point directly to your golden shadow. The first and most beautiful clue is the projection of awe. Think again of that person you admire so deeply, that leader whose integrity you respect, that artist whose creativity captivates you, that friend whose quiet strength you lean on. There is a fundamental law of the psyche at play here. You cannot recognize a quality in another person unless you have the seed of that same quality within yourself. You do not admire courage if you have no capacity for it. You do not recognize brilliance if you have no spark of it. The reason you place these people on a pedestal is because they are activating and modeling a part of your own disowned golden potential. They're not a different species. They are a future version of you calling you forward. Let's take Chloe, our nurse. She deeply admires a senior doctor at her hospital, Dr. Evans. Dr. Evans is not just brilliant, she is fiercely compassionate. She advocates for her patients. She speaks truth to power. She is respected not because she's nice, but because she's wise and strong. Chloe looks at her with a sense of wonder, thinking, I wish I could be like that. What Chloe doesn't realize is that her admiration is an act of recognition. Her soul is using Dr. Evans as a mirror to show her her own exiled gold, her own fierce compassion, her own capacity to speak truth, her own inner queen that she was taught was bossy and had to be put away. Her admiration is her golden shadow, whispering, "Look, that's us." The second clue on the map is more complex, more uncomfortable. It is a feeling we are taught to be deeply ashamed of. It is the compass of envy. You are scrolling through social media. You see an announcement. A friend from college has just published her first novel. And you feel it. That sharp, hot, painful pang in your chest. Envy. Your immediate reaction is to push it down, to feel ashamed, to judge yourself. I should be happy for her. But what if that shame is misplaced? What if that envy is not a sign of your pettiness, but a homing signal from the deepest part of you? We must make a critical distinction here. There is toxic and destructive envy, which says, I hate you for having that, and I want you to lose it. That is the envy of the ego, rooted in scarcity. But there is another kind of envy, aspirational envy. An envy that is not an attack, but a recognition. This envy says, what you have has just reminded my soul of a deep, unmet longing within me. Aspirational envy is one of the most honest and powerful messengers you have. It is your soul's brutally honest way of telling you what it wants. When Chloe feels that pang of envy for her friend the novelist, the compass needle is not pointing at her friend. It is pointing directly at the exiled writer inside Chloe herself. The creative spirit she was told was just a hobby. The envy is her golden shadow crying out, look, that was supposed to be our story too. We are starving for that kind of expression. Shame is the wrong response to this sacred signal. Curiosity is the right one. The question is not, why am I so petty? The question is, what is this feeling trying to tell me about my own unlived life? This leads us to the third and most subtle clue, the inauthentic compliment dodge. Have you ever had this experience? Someone gives you a genuine, heartfelt compliment. You are such a natural leader. You have a real gift for making people feel at ease. That was an incredibly insightful thing to say. And what is your immediate, unfiltered reaction? You deflect, you dismiss, you downplay. Oh, it was nothing. Anyone could have done it. I just got lucky. You feel a profound sense of discomfort, almost like an imposter. Why? Because they have, without realizing it, touched a piece of your buried gold. That discomfort is the sound of your old childhood programming activating. The programming that says, don't shine too brightly. It's not safe. It's arrogant. It's bossy. Your deflection is a desperate, unconscious attempt to rebury the treasure, to push their hand away from the precious, vulnerable thing you were taught to hide. When someone compliments Chloe's sharp, strategic mind after a meeting, and she immediately says, "Oh, I was just thinking out loud," that discomfort is a giant, flashing neon sign. A sign pointing directly to the exiled brilliance she was taught to dim. Awe, envy, discomfort with praise. These are not your weaknesses. They are your map makers. They are the X's on the treasure map of your own soul. They're the whispers of your golden shadow, begging to be seen, begging to be owned, begging to come home.
But now we arrive at the great paradox of this work. The truth is, acknowledging your gold can be far more terrifying than acknowledging your darkness. Why? Why would we be afraid of our own power, our own brilliance, our own magnificence? Because the child inside of us, the one who wrote the primal contract for survival, knows that to shine is to risk. To own your gold is to step out of the crowd, to become a taller tree in the forest. And to be a taller tree is to be more exposed to the wind. This is not an irrational fear. It is an ancient, programmed response. And it manifests in 3 core fears that keep us playing small, that keep our gold buried. The first is the fear of outshining others. This is the deepest fear for the people pleaser, for the empath. The unconscious thought process is this: if I am truly successful, if I allow my full light to shine, will I make the people I love feel small in comparison? Will my success become a mirror for their own unlived lives? Will they resent me? Will they leave me? This fear is a direct echo of the primal wound we have discussed, the fear of abandonment. And so you dim your own light, not out of true humility, but as a misguided attempt to keep your connections safe. You are trading your soul's expansion for the illusion of social security. The second fear is the fear of responsibility. As long as your talent remains a buried potential, it is safe. It is just a dream. It asks nothing of you. But the moment you acknowledge it, the moment you say out loud, "I have a gift for this," it becomes real. And with that reality comes a sacred responsibility, the responsibility to do something with it. The unconscious thought is, if I admit I am a leader, I will have to lead. If I admit I am a writer, I will have to write. If I admit I have a gift, I will have to use it. And that pressure can feel immense. It is often easier and safer to pretend the gold isn't there at all. And the third fear is the fear of visibility. The child who learned to survive by being quiet, helpful, and small is terrified of being seen. Success puts you on a stage. It attracts attention. And attention is a double-edged sword. It brings praise, yes, but it also brings criticism, judgment, and envy. The unconscious thought is, if I stay small and invisible, no one can attack me. If I shine, I become a target. And so you keep your gold buried, because the darkness feels safer than the spotlight. The fear of outshining, the fear of responsibility, the fear of visibility. These are the 3 great dragons that guard your treasure. So how do we face them? Not with a sword,
not with a grand battle. We begin by choosing one single gold coin. We are not going to try and excavate the entire gold mine at once. That is the path to overwhelm. We will begin by gently, tenderly polishing one small coin. I want to offer you a practice, an act of quiet reclamation. It is called Acknowledge and Embody, and it has 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to journal. Look back at the clues we have discussed: your awe, your envy, your discomfort with praise. From all of that data, choose one, just one golden quality that you are beginning to recognize is a part of you in exile. Perhaps it is courage. Perhaps it is creativity. Perhaps it is self-confidence. Write it down. Step 2 is to acknowledge. This may feel strange. It may feel like you are lying. That is okay. Do it anyway. I want you to write this sentence in your journal 5 times. The quality I see in person I admire is also a part of me. 5 times. You are not trying to convince yourself. You are simply creating a new neural pathway. You are planting a new seed in the soil of your mind. And now, step 3, the most important step: embody. This week, your only task is to perform one single micro action, an act that embodies just 1% of that golden quality. It must be so small that it flies under the radar of your fear dragons. If Chloe's quality is fierce compassion, her micro-action is not to confront the hospital board. Her micro-action might be to spend an extra 30 seconds looking a frightened patient in the eye and saying, "I am here with you." If your quality is creativity, your micro-action is not to write a novel. It is to spend 5 minutes writing one single beautiful sentence, or to take a picture of a flower that catches your eye. If your quality is self-confidence, your micro-action is not to give a TED Talk. It is to state your opinion in one low-stakes meeting for 15 seconds without apologizing for it. Do you see the gentleness of this approach? We are not storming the castle. We are simply finding one single gold coin on the ground, picking it up, feeling its weight in our hand, and whispering to ourselves for the first time in a very long time, "This is mine."
Today, we began the great treasure hunt. We have reached into the same dark bag that holds our exiled anger and our shame, and we have felt, at the very bottom, something heavy, something solid, something that glimmers in the dark. Our gold. We have learned that the breathtaking qualities you admire in others are not a measure of what you lack. They are a mirror reflecting the magnificence you were taught to hide. We have learned to read the sacred map of our own soul, to see our awe not as worship, but as recognition, to see our envy not as a sin, but as a compass, pointing to a deep and unmet longing, to see our discomfort with praise as a sign that someone has touched a piece of our buried treasure, and we have understood the great silent dragons that keep this treasure buried: the fear of outshining others, the fear of responsibility, the fear of being truly, brightly, unapologetically seen. For your entire life, you may have believed that humility was a virtue,
But there is a shadow side to humility. A humility that comes from fear is not humility at all. It is a form of self-abandonment, a way of saying to your own soul, your light is too inconvenient. Please, stay small. The world has not been served by you playing small. The world has been robbed of your gifts. As the great mythologist Joseph Campbell once implied, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. You have spent a lifetime avoiding this cave, but the treasure inside, your unique leadership, your specific creativity, your powerful voice, it is not just for you. It is your gift to the world, and the world is poorer for its absence. The practice we have learned today, to acknowledge and embody, to polish one single gold coin, is not a small act. It is a revolution. It is your first declaration of a new kind of loyalty, a loyalty to the gold within you, a loyalty to the person you were born to be before the world told you who you should be. This is the deeper meaning of shadow work. It is not just about healing our wounds. It is about reclaiming our power, the power to create, the power to lead from a place of fullness, not lack, the power to shine. We have now met the two great archetypal forces living in your shadow. The dark shadow, which holds your exiled pain and power, and the golden shadow, which holds your exiled brilliance. We understand that both of them communicate with us through the mysterious mechanism of projection. But how, exactly, does this psychic projector work in our daily lives? How does it create the painful, confusing, and repetitive patterns in our relationships with our partners, our family, and our colleagues? How can we learn to stop the film, turn on the lights, and reclaim what we have projected onto others? That is the master key to transforming your relationships. And it is the very mechanism we will demystify in our next conversation. For this week, your invitation is to begin the excavation, to be brave enough to name one piece of your own gold, to honor this new awareness, to declare your right to your own magnificence. I invite you to join a community of fellow treasure hunters. Share one gold coin, one positive quality you are beginning to recognize in yourself, in the comments below. Begin your sentence with this powerful, reclaiming phrase: my golden shadow holds my courage, my creativity, my compassion. Whatever it may be, name it, and by naming it, you begin the sacred work of claiming it. Welcome home to your own brilliance.